Alright, what's up? I'm Brandon, and I'm known as Dog Sinatra on the Kia Forte forums, or forteforums.com. So, this video is going to be a component speaker installation in a 2014 Kia Forte LX. Now, I'm sure it'll work for 2015, and reasonably sure that it'll work for the Forte 5 or the EX, SX, the coupe, whatever it may be. I think it works for all Fortes. Don't quote me on that though. Now, as far as the tools that you'll need a Phillips head screwdriver, which I don't have right next to me. You need a 12-volt drill. After the video, I found out that a 1/4 inch would be probably the best, or not 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch would be about the best size. Now, a set of pry tools like these, and in fact, this one right here and this one right here were the most useful. But I just got those in a set off of Amazon, and those are absolute necessity if you don't want to scuff up your interior. And I'll put links to everything in the description. Everything I purchased for this. Now, next is the wire stripper. Now this is it does stripping down here, cutting right here, and crimping up here. And you'll need every one of those functions. You'll need kind of just a standard set of pliers. And electrical tape. I guess this could be considered a supply, but I consider it a tool, because you should probably already have it. And under the same category, I guess, would be super glue. Definitely want to have super glue. Now, as for the supplies for the installation, here are the speakers that I used. They are the Rockford Fosgate Prime R165S, and I got them off of Amazon for about, I think it was about 60 bucks. They have them on Crutchfield for 100, and Amazon for 60. And you don't need the mounting bracket that comes from Crutchfield, so there's really no point in paying the extra 40 bucks. Okay, now the way I did it, I didn't need these. I already bought them though, so you may need them just in case. These are female disconnects, or quick disconnects. So what you would do with these is attach speaker wire to the speakers, essentially. And then, absolutely vital for my method. Now if you want to solder, you won't need these, but I used these, and they're just called parallel connectors. And basically you stick both wires in, and then you crimp it in the middle. And that way you create a solid connection, and you're not using those little twists, and you're not having to solder everything. Now, again, you may need some speaker wire. Now, my speakers came with plenty, so I just used what was in the box. So, fair warning, a couple sections are a little choppy. It doesn't last too long, though. Shot all the video yesterday, put it all together. Here it is. Alright, so I've done the left side and kind of made my small mistakes and figured out what I need to do on this side, and I'm going to maybe not videotape exactly every moment and everything that I do, but certainly I'll explain and kind of show what it looks like before and after. It's kind of hard to videotape yourself doing things. A lot of this takes two hands, and a lot of it's kind of homebrew or DIY. You know, you're not really doing it in any kind of official manner, like I mentioned. There's no like Crutchfield master sheet or any really solid instructions for this. I've just read everything I can find and kind of taken as much as I can away from each one. I think I've really got a good method, a solid method. Step one, I know the lighting's not ideal and the focus maybe not great, but okay, so you got your trusty pry tool and you put it in right next to the door lock and just pry on it a little bit. It's very easy. Okay. Well, that's not exactly what I meant, but works. This is all it is, and it snaps in. There's one right there and one right there. I believe that's all it's snapping to, and maybe this one down there. Okay. Next thing, I got a small flathead here, and this is a really tall screwdriver because it's got kind of a built-in ratchet. But if you stick it down in there, see way in the corner there, if you can get your flathead down in there. There you go. Alright, this is a little insert. It goes down in there. And then you'll see there is one screw to take out there. Right down in the door handle. Or whatever that is. And here's the, I guess this is the door handle. Back behind here, there's one screw. Again, I know the lighting's not great. Screws. This is a small AA powered Black & Decker that came with my full-size Black & Decker that I have down there. It's really low power, so you're not going to over torque anything or mess anything up. And I just got a magnet on the bit there so that the screws come off when they're done. Alright, now as for this trim panel here, and that box will come into play in a moment. Let's see if I can do this. Okay. We'll start down here. This is another one of these panel tools to get under here. Kind of pry it off, and you'll find a spot where you can get it. Just to pull the rest out. I just got my hand here in the little door pocket. Alright. Now, you just lift up. You can easily get back here. Now you've got your, I know it's upside down, but these are your controls for the door handle. They come from right here. Don't know how to disconnect these, not going to bother. And here is your window control, and you just got to disconnect that. Just give me a moment. I got it out, and now these are strong, and there's also an additional thing holding on here that's not electrical. So what I did is I got this box down here so I don't scuff it. This is the box that some other shipment came in. If you can just kind of work it to where you have it propped up against something where it's not going to move, that should be good. Yeah, and it's putting a little stress on these, but they should be cables, so that should be no big deal. Alright, so you just need to remove this screw, this screw, this screw, and this screw. Alright, so got the speaker out of the door. Now you'll see these right here all around, and that's just where this little foam thing is mounted on the top. So you want to remove that. It's going to be kind of messy. You'll probably bust the speaker surround while you're doing it, but you know, that's kind of part of the plan anyway. Alright, so we got this off, and try to be nice to this piece because we're going to put it back on when we get the new speaker in. Now the plan here on out is I'm gonna cut all of this all the way around. Then I'm gonna come back on here with pliers and break each one of these. There's 5 or 6 of these, and you just want to snap them. It's not too hard. They're really very flimsy. all of these. So after, you should have the speaker cone totally destroyed, totally ripped out barbarically. So what you're left with, you've got these brackets still in here, and I just go in with pliers and break them off way down at the root. And I kept these intact. You can just kind of pull them out of the stock speakers. It doesn't really matter. If you have a pair of wire clippers right there with you, you can go ahead and snip them. It doesn't matter. We're not going to use them. So what I did was I took the new speakers and put them down on here, and just wherever I need to screw a hole, let's see if I can get a good shot. You can see that little line I made, just a little mark. I used a knife, and that's where I'm going to put a hole to put one of my 4 screws in. And I did that all the way around, making sure that while I did it, I had the speaker firmly pressed against the factory bracket, so that way when I make all 4 of these holes, and I can actually use them to put the speaker in. So I've got these down here on my floorboard. I'm going to use this 12 volt Black & Decker right here with a very small bit. I have no clue what size this bit actually is. It's probably a 1/16 of an inch or something like that. It's very small, and it's smaller than the screw. It's way smaller, but it's just what I had, and it'll work. I know you can't really see it, it's not focusing, but that's what I'm using. It's time. Here's the final product, and you can see it's a Rockford Fosgate Prime, 6.5 inch, slim, I think is what it is. Now, I've got my screws all the way around. Little bit of an incident there. Don't think it'll affect the sound quality too much, just having trouble getting the screw in. On the back, you've got your connections here, and you want to plug into this one and this one, not these outer ones. These are outputs for the tweeters, and I won't be using those in my installation just because that's not going to be how I do it, but you certainly can. Yeah, here's a shot of the back. 40 watts RMS. That's pretty modest. I believe that the stock head unit, from what I read, sorry about a little bit of AC on, it's hot as shit. From what I read, the stock unit puts out between 12 and 20 watts, so a 40 watt speaker is gonna work all right, and I don't think you'll have any risk of damaging it. And they seem to fit really well in the door. Alright, so in this section, the air conditioner was hitting my phone the whole time when I was recording, so I'll just explain it. These are called female disconnects, and they're used to plug into the terminals on the speaker right there, and then you'll crimp them onto your speaker wire. I'm not going to do that because of the way I'm using the tweeter. Here's the tweeter, no enclosure. And what I'm going to do is leave about 6 inches of wire on here, but then cut off the rest and use about 6 inches of wire on the other end. So as for the speaker wire, which is going to be back here now, right? So the speaker wire is back here, got it disconnected, and actually I had this backwards. So it should be the flat side is here on the outside. The flat side is here, and the little other side is there. Okay, so now you have all this wire back here, and that's going to be stuck back in there. And here's where you got to connect to the original factory wiring. Okay, so what I did is I drilled a little hole next to the original factory connector. I drilled this small hole right here, and that'll be enough to slip that speaker wire through. Now I chose this spot because one, it's in the right general orientation, and two, there's metal behind it. So if you happen to slip through the plastic, you'll hit metal rather than ruining the speaker cone. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the speaker in with the wiring through here and put in all the screws for the door. Alright, so you got the speaker back in, got your wire hanging out there, and I'm going to strip that in a second. And then you've got this right here, this is the factory harness. So I got my wire strippers slash cutters. I'm just going to take this and as close as possible, just going to snap that off. Don't need it. So I'm going to strip this wire, or these wires, and the other side was red and blue, not red and green, so that's weird. But I'm going to assume, or this is orange and green. Actually, no. So I'm going to assume that the orange is negative and the green is positive. On the other side, the red was negative and the blue was positive. But what I'm going to do is just kind of twist the wires together and check to make sure it sounds all right in the configuration that I think is correct. And as long as that's fine, you should be good. And then I'll connect them. All right, so this is certainly not going to be how I leave this, but you can see that I've got the wire kind of just rigged together, and the white striped cable is the negative, and then the plain black is the positive. And I believe that the green is positive and the orange is negative. I didn't look up a wiring guide or anything. I know, shame on me. Whatever. Okay, so let's see if it works.
And just to show him how it feels, I walked past his desk.
Alright, so it sounds perfect. And I have the other one hooked up on the other side, and it sounds to be in phase with that one. I believe that is another good indicator. So I'm going to rig these up, and I bought these little things from O'Reilly. So this is for 20 to 18 gauge wire. It should do the job. And this is, man, 21 of these, and it was like $3, and this will do the whole car, definitely. Definitely worth your investment. So what you do is you take one of these and put it into the one side of that, and then you take your wire cutters. These are wire cutters, strippers, and crimpers, all in one. And you want to crimp it on this last little slot there, where it says 22 to 18. And then you want to do it. Let's see. Let me grab one. These are pretty small. So see how it flares out at the end, and that is just rubber to protect the wiring. And on the inside, you've got your little cylinder, metal cylinder. So you want to crimp it right here, and then put the other side in and crimp it on the other side. And actually for these, I'm going to put both in before I crimp, and then try to get them kind of intertwined in the center. Alright, so here's the final product. Sure isn't any soldering, but I think this is going to be a solid connection. Alright, going to turn it back on.
Heels, one leg resting on the chair. From the side he pulls my hair.
Excellent. Alright. And just to finish up this part, let's see. So you also want to take this and tape it down somewhere. Tape it down, against the door. Somewhere secure. Use zip ties, whatever you feel is good to secure that. Now, scoot your chair up. Start on the tweeter. Okay. So, pry tool again. This is a small one. And just stick it in this little slot right there. You want to stick it in there and pry your, put your bar up under there. It takes a little bit of finagling. There's one clip right there. And there's one clip right there. That's all it is. No scratches on the dash. Love those pry tools, really. Can't say enough good things about them. So this is what you got inside. You've got a little tube, unfortunately. And I spent a good 15, maybe 30 minutes thinking about this today. And the only good way I could come up with is to super glue this. So to super glue the plastic rim back here onto a little thing in there. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. Just give me a moment. Alright, so there are two screws. See, one right there and one right there. There you go. So I'm using this. It's got pretty short, low power drill. Just gonna slide it in there. Comes right out, and these are the same screws used all over the door. So don't worry about getting them mixed up. All right, one more. Super tight fit. Just got it though. All right. So here's the factory tweeter, and it plugs in back here. And just push that and disconnect it. And I have thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. Yeah, actually, you know what? If you rip off the red and the black wires that are connected to the white harness there, and disconnect this black cylinder here, which I believe is what acts as a crossover, then you can actually splice those red and black wires onto the speaker wire and just plug this in. Not what I did on the left side, but I'm going to do it on the right side. Learn from my mistake. It's not a huge mistake, but it is a mistake. Anyway, I don't believe there's any way to just swap out the new speaker for the old one. So I'm not going to even bother. But let's see if I can get that plastic harness out. All right, finished product. And yes, this went way better than the other side. But anyway, here's the final result, and this is a good result. The black here. Oh, shit. Yeah, I confirmed with the other half of the wiring harness. Definitely is correct. The red is positive, the black is negative. So now all you have to do is get up in here, put those together. Oh man, that's so much better than the other side. Oh, that's fantastic. Alright, now I'm just going to explain the next part I'm going to do. See these right here, this little thing right here. Normally it's something that the speaker or the tweeter bracket rests on. It connects over here, but it rests on here. So what I'm going to do is just put a little dab of super glue right there and a little dab of super glue on this side, and just set it so that the edges of this sit right there. And it will fasten very strongly onto there, and you'll have no issues. Alright, and as you can see here, I took off the little padding that's on there. That's just the way I decided to go. You really could go either way. But this way you know that it's going to be of solid, flat, smooth plastic bonded against a solid, flat, smooth plastic. And super glue is the perfect thing for this. Super glue is so strong, it works very well with plastics, and it'll set just about instantly. So that way you can just go ahead and finish up the job quickly. Alright, so if you get a little bit, beat it out, then just get it on there. Just gonna rub around. And then, you know, because I can't, from back here, this is what you can see when you're installing. So you want to get a little bead going, and then just by feel, go and do this. You'll find it. And you just want to do it like this and just get it spread on there. Probably going to get this shit on your finger. It's kind of inevitable. Alright. And you want to tuck this down in there really well. And the tweeter on there. Alright, so in this section, basically, I'm not being patient with the glue, and I fumble with it for a long time, but the point is, put the glue down, make sure that nothing on the back of the tweeter is impairing you, and make sure you have your wires tucked in, and once you set it down, hold it in place for a good 15 or 20 seconds and you should be fine. I don't know why, it just wasn't working out for me right at this moment. So you just want to pop this back on after you've glued down the tweeter. Just snap it in there. See, yeah, it all fits well. No issues there. Alright, so now we've got the tweeter installed and the woofer installed. Now I'm going to make another video about installing soundproofing material, and I'm going to separate it out. And so if you're not going to install soundproofing material, the only thing left to do at this point is just put the door skin back on. Make sure you reconnect the window control, and if you're on the driver's side, there's going to be a window control and I think the power mirror control or something. So there's two of those on the driver's side and just one on the passenger side. And so when you so after you hook the door skin back on the top where the windowsill is, then you want to go all the way around the sides and the bottom, and make sure you snap all those little brackets back in, or snaps, I guess they're just called snaps. Put the snaps back in, and make sure to put your two screws back in. Alright, hopefully that wasn't too bad. One thing I forgot was to reattach the little foam piece that goes on the outside of the speaker. It's not mission critical. I'll go back and do it. I actually forgot while I was doing it. I'll just take my door panel off again and do it later. Basically what I did is put a little bit of super glue around the edges of the ring and then put it in, and just made sure that it contacted the plastic ring on the or around the speaker, and it was fine on the other door when I did that. Now if you have any questions, please reply to the forum post, which I'll link in the description, as I may not check the YouTube comments. In fact, it's very likely that I will not. Now if you're installing coaxials, meaning not using the tweeters, what I would recommend is still take the tweeters off, or pop the tweeters out, and just disconnect them, and then put the grill back on, because you really don't want to have coaxials and another tweeter, you're going to have too much highs, or too many highs, too much treble, whatever. Now, if you're just doing the coaxials, as soon as I finish installing the door speaker, that's your cue. You're totally done. You can just put the trim, or put the door panel back on, and that's it. Now, I really hope this was informative. I just was frustrated with all the guides not being thorough or easy to follow, or whatever it may be. So I hope this helps a lot of people. Now, if you're wanting to install soundproofing material, I also did that, and I shot it. I just haven't edited it yet. I'll put it up soon, and I'll link to that in the description as well. And I'll also be installing rear door speakers and a powered sub. So it's an amp and a sub in a single box, and I'll do that as soon as it comes in. It's coming in tomorrow. Got to find the time to install it. All right. Let me know if you have any questions on the forum, and I hope you have a great day.